guys, welcome back to According To. I'm Megan.
And I'm Ciera. For this week's episode, Megan and I just got back from San Diego for a Bachelorette trip.
We had a great long 4-day weekend.
And we are going to be recapping it with you all, because we didn't vlog this trip.
We didn't, which honestly, Ciera was reminding me like how long we've been vlogging, and like it's no surprise in my mind. I know we've been doing YouTube for 12 years at this point, but like we haven't necessarily been vlogging that long, or at least like not consistently. But Ciera brought up like when we went to Florida for our older sister's senior spring break of high school back in 2015, like we vlogged that trip, and like that has to be one of the first times we vlogged a full trip, and it's just like I should go back and watch that because we were different people back then.
We were. It is weird how
we've grown up.
We've cataloged us growing up in a way that not most people have. Whether good or bad, I don't know.
Yeah. But we went to San Diego. We had never been before. Been to California quite a few times in our lives. We've been to LA multiple times for usually YouTube-related stuff. I don't think we've ever gone just for fun. It's been like we went to VidCon twice. We went to...
No, ClamorCon was Palm Springs.
I swear I've been to LA more than twice, but that's all I can think of at the moment. We went to ClamorCon, so we've been to Palm Springs for that. We went to Palm Springs once just for fun. And then we've been to San Francisco for like a really quick weekend trip. And so we got to check off San Diego off our list, which I've been meaning to do. So very excited about that. We can also kind of talk about like some people have very like mixed feelings on like traveling for Bachelorette stuff. So that could be like a fun thing to talk about as well. Mm-hmm. We always like to start off though with just general catch-ups. We'll usually do books, like catching up on recent things we've been reading, what we're currently reading.
And this was a good trip for our reading.
We did well with our reading. And then our weekly spotlights, which, to be honest, kind of, I think just is the weekend.
We'll skip,
so we'll bypass that this week.
I do have a weekly, here's my daily low light today. I have an annoyance to complain to the court. So, first day back at work. Honestly, it was like a fine day back, but my company is also now doing like some home health stuff only because we have this large campus, not to get too into the details, but it's like still in the same area and kind of just like picking up people that we kind of would have seen otherwise. It's hard to explain, but anyways, it is a new system and documentation thing that I have to do for these home health people specifically. So I have to bring over like a tablet to document on, and I have scheduled to see 2 evaluations today, which is the first visit that I see someone for. And I could see them in either order that I wanted to. I go and see someone. Usually takes about an hour. Finish up. I leave.
Like you finish all your documentation too?
No. That's the good thing about this was that there was I couldn't get a documentation thing to work. So I was just going in blind. Not blind, but like I was like writing stuff down to like come back to later. So that was like a good thing that I didn't document that. But I finished seeing them, doing everything that I would have done for an evaluation. And then my manager is like, oh, like miscommunication, don't see them. Someone else from the home health company is going to be seeing them, so you just have to see this one person. And it's annoying because had I seen the other person first, then I would have been like, oh my God, I just got an hour taken off of my schedule. And now I'm like, now I have an hour on my schedule that's for nothing. Like, my productivity is not good today.
Well, so, wasn't your fault.
That was annoying. Not really a lesson learned or anything because I didn't do anything wrong, but... And then also, since I still hadn't gotten the documentation stuff figured out when I went to see the next person who I was supposed to see, I had to stay for like an hour after work to like actually do documentation. I still don't even know if I did it right, but whatever.
To be figured out another day.
Do you have a low light you want to share?
I had a fine day back. It was just it was long. I was at 2 different buildings today, and nothing too crazy, but like the number of people on my schedule, because like some people that I saw like I didn't see for full time. Usually like on a normal day I see like 6 patients maybe for like 53 minutes each or so. Today, if you saw my patient list, it was 12 people, but like some,
I don't bat an eye at that.
You know, some were suit visits. I had 2 evals I had to do. It was like not horrible, but it was like a little long. Anyways, books, recent books. I am trying to think of what I maybe last mentioned to you guys. I think I said I was reading 20 Years Later, and so that was a book that I finished up over the weekend. It was a good book. I really enjoyed it. I was kind of thinking right up until the end I was just going to give it 4 stars, but then like at the very end there was a pretty good twist that I didn't see coming. And there was also a point in the book where I gotta admit it got me because it was going back and forth kind of between 2 different chapters, and I thought I knew what was going on, and then there was like a little bit of a twist there which I wasn't expecting to happen then, but earlier in the book I kind of made a comment of like, oh, I bet this happens, but then I kind of forgot about it. So it definitely kind of had some things in there that I wasn't fully expecting, and so I bumped it up to a 4.25 in the end.
And I had rated it a 4.5. I read it like a month or 2 ago. And I enjoyed the book as well, obviously. I think that since I last talked to you guys, I was reading 7 Days in June. And so I finished that. I gave that one 4 stars. Pretty basic romance, dual POV. Oh, actually, I think I did finish it, so I won't talk about that because I already did talk to you guys about it. So then I've read 2 books since then. Red Queen, and I gave that one 4 stars. And then I read Done and Dusted. Gave that one 4 stars. I must say, though, a delight to read.
Right? Isn't it like you're not giving it more than a 4 stars, but like flying through.
It's a short book. It's on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have that, check it out. It's a cowboy romance, which is something I normally wouldn't have.
You're reading it and you're kind of like, I will, like, it starts like showing the other, like there's 2 other brothers in there, and kind of like it shows like some potential love interest in there. So you immediately know like, okay, there's going to be 2 more books in this series.
Yeah.
And you're like, I will be reading this. I will be reading that.
Just a fun, easy, lighthearted read. Don't have to put too much brain power into anything. And it's dual POV. I'm a sucker for dual POV. And normally I wouldn't have expected like a cowboy romance to be my thing. But
I know. Now I'm like, I kind of feel like I need to go into like the Reckless series. I think that's the first one because I see it. Sarah Crowley was the first one I heard talking about it, but I've seen like other booktubers and stuff talk about them as well. So who knows? Maybe I'll jump into that series eventually.
But that one was super easy. I read it literally all yesterday because it was super short and we had a big travel day.
Yeah.
And then I am currently reading The Right Move, which I'm enjoying actually like more than I expected to.
See, I gave that one a 4.5. So
I will say, I definitely
it.
like this one. I think so far more than Mine Would Be You, which is the one you gave 5 stars.
It's tricky because like I really feel like for that one, like it was close to, I'm like, do I give it a 5 stars? But I obviously didn't. But I did really enjoy that one. So, and that one is like a basketball player, and it's forced proximity, fake dating.
I think I will because it's technically the second book in the Windy City series. Yeah. I think I will go back and read.
I think I've been meaning to eventually go back and read it, but like that one does have higher ratings, so I do think most people like that one more.
It's kind of fun seeing though, like usually you're supposed to read like, oh, read Mile High first, and then like, but knowing like that I'm reading this, I'm like, oh, I wonder like what happens in the first book that they're referencing for that.
I'm currently reading / like I might finish, if not today, tomorrow. I'm reading the last book in the Dreamland Billionaire series by Lauren Asher, and I'm enjoying the book. I'm just having mixed feelings. It's because this isn't really a spoiler, but like the brother in this one is battling like addiction and trying to like handle that, and I feel like it's just kind of like hard because like you want to root for them as a couple and you want him to like recover from his addiction, but it's also like you see him like messing up and not necessarily like going through recovery actively every time, and so in that way you're kind of like just frustrated with him as well. So I'm enjoying the book, but I kind of still haven't decided like where it's at on my ranking for like the full series.
Between the first 2, which one do you like more?
Between the first 2, I think I liked, God, I don't even remember. Like I do remember, but like I feel like the first 2 really are pretty similar, and this one is like the one that's the most different. So I don't know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know when I'm going to finish mine. If not, I don't know if I'll finish it today, just time-wise, but definitely like sometime, hopefully during the week. And then I don't know. I told myself I should. I'm getting like 2 like quick romance books on my Kindle, and then I'm like, I need to dive into a book that I need to bulldoze through, whether that's Book of Night,
think about or what?
The Hacienda, like books that I'm like, okay,
you don't want
buckle down, read it. It could also be the last book in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Mm-hmm. That one at least is like shorter. But I also kind of am like, I want to get through those Book of the Month books. I need to finish them.
Also, I do want to say like a quick shout out to like I've seen a couple of people just from like our podcast we did last week, just like
Oh yeah,
a couple of people just kind of like saying like I really enjoyed that episode, or they thought like we had some interesting conversation, or some people were like I'm gonna try and challenge myself to do the same. And so we're all in this together, you guys. I wish you luck if you're trying to kind of be a little bit more intentional in your dating journey.
We have no updates. It was kind of a busy week last week, and then traveling and stuff.
We haven't done any additional scouting or anything.
No scouting has been done since then.
But
now we're
hopefully
home.
we can kind of get settled down a little bit again and like get through this week a little bit, and then figure out what might be some
state fairs coming up. Lots of people
you
at
never
state
know
fair.
who you're gonna find at the state fair.
Put that on a shirt.
Good, bad.
I literally also looked because we were talking about baseball games could be a good thing. The Iowa Cubs are out of town this week, so we'll need to do some thinking.
Since we'd mentioned driving range, I kind of feel like, at least for the first time, like I don't want to go from like all of us, like us and mom, to like literally by myself. So I still feel like we could do a scouting trip together.
Okay.
I don't know if that'll be this week or not, but yeah.
With that being said, should we dive into our San Diego recap?
We shall.
So, I don't know if Zoe is listening to this. Zoe, if you are, hello. We're going to be talking about your bachelorette trip. But our friend from physical therapy school, Zoe, she had her bachelorette trip. It was planned for Thursday through Sunday, which is when most of the people there were there. Megan and I, however, found cheaper flights from Friday through Monday.
And
so
just
we
like
arrived a day late.
Kind of talking about like whether or not you feel like it's worth traveling for a bachelorette trip. That was kind of like, since we found good prices that were nonstop for just slightly different days, that kind of made it more worth it for us. And
you
so
have to
we
recognize your
like,
audience too.
We kind of were just like, hey Zoe, if we're showing up like a day late, is that okay? And people were kind of coming like at different times, but we were the last ones there. But it all ended up being fine. Like it didn't like really mess us up from like not being there earlier or anything like that.
And like they still had stuff planned. Like we were just like, we'll show up when we show up. You guys do what you want to do. Like we'll just pop right in. As far as travel for bachelorette trips, I think it depends on your audience, and you have to know your audience. You and I are the type of people who are like, sign me up. I will go on a trip for whatever reason.
Right.
And we have like the financial means to do so.
And it's also like I'm also not having like 1,000,001 people getting married that like I'm being invited on like bachelorette trips, because like there are some people who the friends that they have, like there's a lot of them in that stage of life, and so all of a sudden like it's not one bachelorette trip, it's 3. And then that becomes like, okay, I can't
go to Nashville and San Diego, and
especially if you're expected
Palm
to take like
Springs.
PTO days. Like now you're starting to really ask a lot of your friends or your bachelorettes. Your bridesmaids. Ciera and I aren't even like, we're not bridesmaids in her wedding. We were invited because we're good friends. And so we were like, sure. So I feel like you just have to, like, if you can't go or it's not feasible or worth it in your mind to go on a trip, like I think you just gotta straight up say like, hey, I gotta sit this one out. It's not gonna work for me.
And hopefully if the bride is a close enough friend with you, like they will understand that, and they should understand that, because like I'm just like, if it's your trip, then like, or if it's your bachelorette trip, you should get a saying like what goes on. If you want to travel, go for it, but recognize not everyone you want to go may be able to.
And so like that's also why people do like more local stuff, because you can get usually everyone that you want there, and also like it's much cheaper to do that. So whatever works. I always feel like, because Ciera just said, we're kind of like, we're down to travel if we can. So many years from now, when I might be planning my bachelorette,
well, technically I'm supposed to plan
party, I kind of foresee that I would like to do a trip, but I think it'd be more of just like an excuse to go on a trip with like, honestly, it would, in my mind, it's just like Ciera, Haley, and Maggie. I'd want it to be like small, because like when you're traveling too, I really feel like you got to be like picky and choosy about like, who do I feel like I'd travel well with. And I know I would travel well with you guys, I think. So it'd be simple, easy, and mostly just like an excuse for a trip, because
and most likely a weekend. I think that bachelorette trips, if you do them, work best over the long weekend. Obviously, if you are close to a place that you can drive, or have a good airport, then that makes it more convenient. Des Moines is not the most conducive to this, but hey, we got nonstop flights to San Diego, which I'm surprised about.
Go Allegiant. supposedly they're adding more nonstop flights soon, so.
So, anyways, we left on Friday, so we took full PTO days on Friday and Monday surrounding the trip, and it was kind of nice because our flight didn't leave until like 1 o'clock or something, and so we just like had a leisurely morning. Actually, no, we woke up early for whatever reason.
We woke up early
At like 6:30 for no reason.
Well, I planned to wake up at 7, and then like I just woke up and like wasn't really tired, so I started just like going on my phone. I was like, let me post I posted the podcast reel, and I did that on everything, and then I saw that Ciera had liked it, so I was like, you're already up. Should we just go to the gym? So we did that.
Got some Starbucks.
Had a little morning. Finished getting all of our stuff packed, and then our grandma was really, really kind, and she's the one that drove us to the airport. And I know this about my grandma, but I honestly I kind of thought that she would forgo her normal habits when she offered to take us to the airport. Our grandma doesn't like to drive on the interstate, so anywhere around the Des Moines metro, she will be taking the back roads and not the interstate. She just doesn't like it. And so I knew that. I know that. But she didn't like mention
verbalize it.
She didn't verbalize like, I'll take you, but like I will be taking.
No, well, here's the thing, is that I said, like we had mentioned, and she's like, well, I can take you. And I was like, I just kind of figured like you wouldn't want to like drive us to the airport, implying you don't like to take the interstates. So it seemed like more of a hassle for you than anything. And she's like, I can take you to the airport. So I was like, okay, maybe she's fine with driving on the interstate.
She did. And then as soon as she made one turn away from the interstate, I was like, we're not going on the interstate. And I didn't ask because like I already know the answer. She gave me the answer, and she's already agreed to drive us, so I'm not here to like bring her down or anything. But it's just that it took like 15 minutes longer to not go on the interstate. Our flight was delayed 40 minutes anyways, so like it didn't really matter, and I already knew it was delayed at that point, so like didn't care. She dropped us off. We went, and since we had some time, we went to the restaurant.
Hold on, you know what's funny? So the Des Moines airport, at least the day that we were leaving, was not busy, hardly at all. And so there's the TSA pre-check line, which is just the straight line that you can go through, and then like the general boarding people have to like weave their way through all of these ropes and stuff. And so because there was no one there, we were just like straight up walking back and forth. And I was like, this reminds me of that scene in Shrek where I don't know what the place is called.
Something Land.
Thank you. Where like they have like the musical people like in whatever, and the one guy with the Lord Farquaad mascot suit, he like is scared of Shrek, and so he's like running back and forth between these lines. That's what it felt like. But also, like that. There was a lady who was in front of us, so it was like empty except for her. She was walking in front of us, and throughout the boarding line for the general boarding area, there are these little stands and stuff with like, here's what you shouldn't bring on, your carry-on with like liquids and whatever, a knife, stuff like that. And I understand it's like good for viewing if you're waiting in line, just want to double check your stuff fits within the carry-on protocol standard, whatever. She's like stopping and like looking at this stuff.
She's loitering.
And I was like, you're the first person in the line. I'm right behind you. Keep it moving. Like, this stuff before you get onto a flight. You shouldn't have to double check that everything fits. Or if they pull it out.
She was taking her time.
But she was kind of looking at all the signs, making sure. I don't know if she was checking anything or just curious, wanted to know what it was saying. And I was like, let's go. I'm right behind you and I'm ready. Like, at least step aside if you're going to do that. If you want to read everything within this shadow box of things that you can't bring onto your carry-on, let me go in front of you because I'm ready to go. I know what's in my carry-on. But yeah, it was just like a little minor annoyance. Now you can continue.
Anyways, we didn't really have any issues with our flight there or back, so once we finished eating,
our flight felt like it took forever to get there, though.
It did feel like a long flight there, but
like it was 3.5 hours, which is kind of a long flight. But I was like doing some stuff on my phone. I felt every second of those
3.5 hours.
I was doing some stuff on my phone, and then I fell asleep for what I thought was a considerable enough time just to wake up and be told, we have 2 hours left. And I was like, 2 hours?
I also just remembered something. So Ciera and I were sitting together on the plane, both there and back. And then on the way there was like an older guy sitting next to me. Didn't say anything to me the entire flight, but then when he could tell I was reading, and he was reading on something for some parts of the flight too. And then when we landed, it just made me laugh.
It's funny because it's like, why would you think that?
But he's like, what are you reading? Like a
love
story?
And Megan's like, no, actually.
And this was when I was still reading it 20 years later. So I was like, no. Even though, like, if you ask me the other 9 out of 10 times, the answer would be yes. And what's wrong with that?
No, why would you assume that I'm reading a love story?
No, and then I kind of had to, like, my story wasn't like
thought it was fiction.
It wasn't
nonfiction.
It wasn't very easy to explain, but I did my best, and, like, I think he got the gist. But then he also I'm trying to remember what his was about, because then he was explaining it to me as if I'd, like, never heard of that ever, and it's, like, a very prominent historical event, but I'm trying to remember what it was.
It wasn't related, because the Zodiac Killer thing he brought up was because of your book, right?
I was like, okay, yeah, that's what he was talking about, but then I guess maybe not. His book was about the Vietnam War. That's why I was getting confused, because I was like, that couldn't have been what he was talking about. But I guess my story kind of reminded him of the Zodiac Killer, so then he was like, asking me if I had heard of the Zodiac Killer. Hopefully he didn't hear me say, like, yeah, I've heard of him, because I swear I did. And then he goes on to keep explaining and talking about, like,
he's like, yeah, he was this guy who, like, lived in the
Bay
Area
just,
or
like,
something.
He explained it all again, and I was like, yeah, I've heard of him. Which, in my mind, I kind of feel like everyone's heard of him, but I literally have posted an Instagram story because I think Maggie
or Haley
or both of them didn't know who the Zodiac Killer was after I'd watched, like, a Netflix documentary on it. I think I texted them or said something about, like, it's crazy, like, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, who? And I was just like, doesn't everyone in the world, in America at least, in the U.S., know who the Zodiac Killer is? Like, have heard of him? Because in my mind, the answer is yes. But on my Instagram stories, the answer was no.
Which would then make sense as to why that guy would assume that, like, it's not general knowledge. But to us, it is general knowledge. And so I don't know.
But otherwise, got off the plane. We got to San Diego at, like, 4 o'clock or so their time. And then we took an Uber, went to the hotel. The room we were staying in,
I did not know how much we were balling out for this trip. I paid my share.
But I thought we were all going to have kind of, like, separate rooms, and I wasn't really sure, like, what it was going to look like. But how many of us were there in, like, because it was kind of, like, 3 rooms together.
7.
There was a king bed in a bathroom adjoined to a, like, common room, kind of living room. There's a table, a kitchenette thing with a pull-out couch, and then adjoined to a room with 2 full beds. And so, in another bathroom.
And, like, multiple bathrooms.
Like 3
the living area had, like, a bathroom thing.
I was like, okay, dang.
It was nice.
So it was, like, a really good setup for a Bachelorette trip. Like, it was really good.
And then it was also a combined Bachelorette trip, and so the girls had their area, and then the guys had a similar setup, I would assume. They mostly came over to our area, so I never actually saw what their room setup looked like. But, like, they were just down the hall from us.
And so people were at the pool a little bit when we first got there.
Pool, also incredibly nice. We're at the Grand Hyatt.
Manchester Grand Hyatt.
Yeah, if you want to look it up.
And so we went to the pool for a little bit, and then that first night we did the beach at sunset, which I'll try to remember.
I think we went to Ocean Beach the first night, and then it was Mission Beach day 2.
Those were the 2 beaches. I'm pretty
Otherwise,
sure that's the right order. And so we got some takeout by the beach, and then we went and ate on the beach. Gotta say, and I knew this going into it, but San Diego weather is very much like room temperature or a little warmer.
Like, it would kind of go in phases too, where it's like if Iowa is like on a hot streak, it's hot and it's only hot, you know?
Yeah.
San Diego could like change hourly, where it was like it was mostly like base level
or
warm,
sunny.
or it'd be like the sun is pelting at you and it's like really hot, but then it gets windy and then you're like, oh, it's kind of cold.
Yeah. So
and that was just like how the day went.
And it never really like, I mean, I didn't go swimming in the ocean. Also, like, the Atlantic is cold.
It's the Pacific.
The Pacific. I knew that. It's cold, and so I don't know if I would have gone swimming anyways, but it certainly didn't feel warm enough to go swimming. It was warm enough to lay out, especially when the sun came out. But otherwise,
that was a wrap on day one. And then I will say, hold on. So we get home to the hotel. What did we do for dinner that night? It was on the beach. Okay. We get back to the hotel, and then the girls are doing like little bachelorette parties and games and stuff. And then keep in mind, Megan and I came from Iowa, and so we're like 2 hours ahead of their time. So it's like when it's midnight, like if it's 10, it's midnight my time. I'm like getting ready to go to bed. I got up at 6:30. I'm tired. We were playing Cards Against Humanity, and then it was like midnight, and I was kind of like, okay, I'm like, I think we're wrapping up. Like I'm gonna get ready for bed.
Like it's
here, knock on the door. Knock on the door. It's the guys, and they're all coming in, with all their stuff, wanting to hang out, which I have no issue with. Like I get it's a bachelorette party, and I was like, oh my god, how long are they gonna be here? Like I need to go to bed. I rallied until 2 a.m.
2:30 is
or
when
1:30,
I went to bed.
1 or 2, I don't know. And I was like, I physically cannot do this anymore. And so like while everyone was still there, I was like, I brushed my teeth, and I crawled into bed.
And like literally passed out. I slept really amazing.
I slept like a rock
both nights. So
like once I actually went to sleep, I didn't hear them at all. Honestly,
Same.
the doors, it was like a double door
they were-
situation because it was the suite and the room. So there were 2 doors connecting it. When they were both
pretty
closed,
soundproof.
it's pretty quiet.
So that was the first night, and then kind of slept in a little bit the next morning, and we went and did something simple because we decided to
beach
forego
day.
brunch.
Oh, we got Starbucks.
Yeah, okay. We just did Starbucks in the morning, which like no complaints from me. And then we went, and this was another like just nice surprise. I knew we were doing like a cabana rental thing, but I didn't really know what that meant.
I feel like and this is partly me being like such a poor observer of the group chat, but everything was like a surprise to me. I was like, this is nice. Who set this up?
And so they had booked, we also like we paid for a share of this as well, but I didn't know what to expect. So they had a person who I think they found on Instagram, like it was just like a small business. They set up like 3 kind of cabanas on the beach with like 2 chairs in each of them. There was a cooler. It was very aesthetic and pretty, and like they had towels. It just looked nice. It was like something called like the beach cabana something. I don't know their Instagram, but they have an Instagram. And there's some bags that we could play. So we just spent basically the whole day there. People kind of did their own thing for lunch. Ciera and I found like a taco place that we went to. We played 2 bags games. We won both of them. We were on a good streak for bags. We did well. And then I did some reading. I did some napping. I got burnt because the sun is suspicious there. I was like mysterious. What's the right word? It gets cloudy and it's not that warm, so you kind of don't think you need to keep applying sunscreen.
It's like, I'm going to really verbalize it to you because I can't remember the word. It sneaks up on you.
That's the word I was looking for. Hopefully I don't look too burnt right now, but I got kind of burnt around my scalp, which is like my least favorite place to get burnt. Ever since like the Florida trip I talked about at the beginning, that was the trip that I was like, oh my God.
This can never happen again.
This is never happening again. So now I'm like I'm a hat person. I either have my bucket hat on, even if I look freaking stupid, I don't care, or I have my visor on, which is my preference. That's why on every Instagram picture ever in the summer, my visor's on. Just about.
I'm going to go
my white visor or my Bahamas visor. They make many, many appearances because they need to cover my hairline.
Yeah, that's funny.
And I'm a visor girly. I think some people kind of hate on them, but
I think
my hair goes up. So like my hair's either in a high ponytail or a bun. I haven't yet to come up with something else that looks cute that's like not gonna make me super hot in the summer. So visor's the way to go. A bucket hat's not gonna work, but I do use a bucket hat to cover my face otherwise. And then we had these temporary tattoos of like the groom's face. We like did that thing, and then like the groomsmen had like the bride's face. And getting those off
was hard work.
It hurt. It was like they were on there good.
Like I was scrubbing and rubbing. I was like in the shower trying to take it off, and that was working, so I had to get out of the shower and use a rag with like hot water, and my skin was bright red like from all the rubbing that I was trying to do to get it off. I eventually did, but it was sticking to my hairs on my arm. It hurt to get off.
There was also like a Ben and Jerry's that was within walking distance
got
to
2
our
milkshakes
hotel.
during this
So we went. I got a milkshake there. Ciera got a different milkshake. Very good. And I think that kind of wraps up. Like, the original plan on Saturday night was we were going to go do like a bar crawl. We had like little sparkly outfits planned, and I was told, based on the others who stayed up later than we did the night before and who maybe did a little more drinking, that
that was like their night.
They were not going to go do another round 2 or do a bar crawl. Like, they weren't feeling it. So we
And you know, Megan and I did not particularly care one way or the other.
So we also did a nice dinner on Saturday, actually, too. So I don't know how you say this restaurant's name, but it's like Puesto. It's like
it sounds like you're saying Presto, like with a
Puesto. And they're known for their tacos. They do have good tacos.
Good. We got the chicken.
And it was like really close to our hotel, so cannot complain. We had little special shirts we wore.
Interestingly enough, the little area that place was in was previously the like jail prison for
San
the San Diego area.
So
they have like a little thing where it's like you can go and look at like the little prison exhibit.
This old cells that they had, and interesting.
Is that wrap it up?
That was the whole night. We did change into our sparkly outfits just for pictures.
Yes.
And that was
so if you see that on my Instagram, which you will,
and then we actually
literally
went
got
and
dressed up, and then we changed.
We did some hot tubbing after that. That was it. Ciera and I brought the G7X. I was so ready to like fulfill anything I could to like get the pics for people this trip. So hopefully I did my job well.
Yeah. Megan and I did our duty, made the shared album, which obviously everyone else can add stuff to as well. It just makes it so much easier for everyone.
I'm like, this is the way we do it. And then like everyone easily is, I saw everyone add on their stuff to the shared album. It's easy. I don't know if that was like, I don't know if any of them had ever done that before, because originally there was like a couple people sending like the first few pics in the group. I'm like,
that's not how we're doing this.
We're going to create a shared album. And so we did that. And then last day, Sunday, last day for like the trip, and then Ciera and I had like a little bonus day. We didn't do much, but we'll share. So the steps that I took this day.
This was like the most negative aspect of the trip. And it was no one's fault. It was just like no one really knew what to do, because it was like everyone just ready, like waiting for their flights to leave.
So spent the morning getting packed up, getting ready, because we have to check out of the hotel by 11. And then the plan was to go to like a brunch. And I'm all for walking. Like, I really don't mind. And so we all agreed there was like a place we were going to go try to get to for brunch. It was like a 20-minute walk.
It's called Morning Glory. It's supposed to be very popular in the San Diego area, and it was very popular.
Like, we might not be getting a seat because like it could have a long wait. We walked there. You know, it was a long walk, but like I knew how long it was going to take, and like okay, it took 22 minutes or however long. So we get to the area. Luckily, there's a lot of restaurants around there. It was like Little Italy in San Diego, and we saw the line, and we were like, we're not even going to try, seeing how long that line takes. So then we're kind of looking around. It didn't take us forever to find a place to eat, but I think like we were all maybe a little not impressed, at least with like the service of the place that we chose, because
I thought the food was good.
I thought the food was good, but like the service wasn't great, and there's like a few different annoying things.
I got some pancakes and berries. There was a like cream sauce or whatever that was a little bit sweet for my taste, but
otherwise good.
Otherwise it was good. It was funny, the groom, he got that as well. And I think that like I'm someone who like I like love sweets, you know. And it was a little sweet for me, so I think he was like, this is way too sweet. I don't think he liked it as much as we did.
And so all that in mind, it's kind of like, I think when we finished eating brunch, I kind of feel like everyone was like just kind of ready to get back to the hotel. But some people wanted to like pass by like a souvenir shop on the way just to like see what was going on. So it's like, okay. And instead of going directly straight back through town, like the shortest way possible.
Well, it was getting hot, so we thought, let's go like walk by the pier and like,
because that was I'm getting there.
Okay.
But like we don't go towards like the little pier, walk along the ocean to get there, because like that's not like the most direct route. So already like cutting down a couple blocks towards the ocean, like it's gonna take a little bit more time. But like it'd be a nice view, and so I figured like, okay, no one was objecting to that. But then for like the souvenir shop, we can either go left and start heading back towards our hotel, which again, it's a walk. We'd already walked quite a bit. Or we can go right and start going in the complete opposite direction. And we start going right. And I'm like, I don't even know where we're going for the souvenir shop. Ciera didn't even know where we were walking.
No, I literally, they were like, I didn't realize, this is just how, like, oblivious I am to anything. I didn't realize until someone said, like, oh, I think we walked past the shop. I was like, I didn't even know we were walking to anything.
She just thought we were walking.
And also, like, you would think I would have been more annoyed or, like, trying to figure out where we were going because my feet, particularly my left foot, was starting to hurt because my Birks, I don't think were properly adjusted. And so, like, with the sweat from the walking, and my strap was, like, digging into part of my toe and, like, cutting into it, which was painful. And then my toes were, like, rubbing together. And so, like, one of them was, like, starting to get a little raw. And I was like, this is not good. And then the souvenir shop ended up, I don't know if it was closed or if it was just, like, since it was part of the maritime thing. We never ended up,
like, finding a souvenir shop. There were a couple souvenir stands. I think everyone though at that point was kind of like,
it was like
done.
What ended up happening was that, like, it was like, there's how many people altogether? Like 12 people, and, like, it's like 2 people here, 2 people there, 3 people here, like, everyone's just separate trying to we were all get back to the hotel at their own pace. No one's talking.
But honestly, like, I don't mind that because, like, if it's just kind of like,
I wasn't mad at it.
I wasn't mad at you and I were like, people are just kind of like, they're just trying to, like, get back to the hotel,
that was me.
And so, like, that's what I was doing.
It was hot. I had to go to the bathroom.
That's what they're doing.
My foot hurt.
And so we get back. It was, like, it had to have been, like, a 40-minute walk back. And it was just, like, hot. I wasn't ready for it. I just wanted to be back in the hotel. And it made me, I checked my steps at the end of the day, and I had 17,000 steps. Most of the chunk, with that walking there. But then, like, we also did a little bit more later.
Anyway, so we get back around, like, 1 o'clock or something. Everyone else is, like, getting ready to go to the airport. So Megan and I are like, bye. Had fun. Love you guys. See you at the wedding in a month. And then we left. We walked to our hotel. And so our hotel, well, we were staying one extra night. And so we stayed at a different hotel that was cheaper. And it was just, like, a 10-minute walk to that hotel. So that was, like, fine. We were also mostly kind of walking by buildings with, like, shade and stuff. So I didn't change my shoes at that point. But for the rest of the trip, tennis shoes only. I was like, my feet hurt too bad. I'm not letting this get worse. I'm very particular about, like, if I start to sense a blister, I'm like, we need to change something. Because once you have a blister, isn't that just the worst? And I'm happy to report I have no long-lasting blisters. Pressure injuries, friction injuries, they'll get you.
We stayed at the Guild. It's a tribute portfolio hotel, which I think is also a sub thing of Marriott. And I just picked it because when I was looking at hotels for that one day, it seemed like the best deal between being within our budget and also still, like, I want kind of like a nice-ish place. So that was what I found.
Sue her.
This ended up being okay, but our initial plan was
we had to, like, rest and recharge in our room for a hot second.
Our initial plan, though, was to maybe, like, go to the hotel pool. Or at least I said, when we got there, I was like, let's go check out the hotel pool and see what's going on, and then we'll kind of decide what we want to do. Because we had a few different ideas, but we weren't sure.
Like, we had some ideas, and we're like, okay. But without seeing the pool, we were like, let's maybe make today the pool day, and then tomorrow we'll, like, go to La Jolla and do all that stuff before we go to the airport. And so Megan's like, let's check it out.
We go to the elevator. I don't see anything, like...
And Megan's like, I think it's supposed to be, like, a pretty nice pool. Like, from the pictures I remember, it was pretty nice.
Yeah, I kept saying that. And then in the elevator, I don't see anything saying, like, rooftop, but I do see, like, a P at the very top. So like, we hit that. Cool. We go up there. It's for the penthouse. And so...
Which, weirdly enough, you can just get to without a specific room key.
Well, they were cleaning it, so
I know.
Would have been.
So it was like we weren't in the penthouse specifically. There was a door to get to the penthouse, which you would then need a key for. But I was like, oh,
wrong. Yeah, wrong floor. Not there. So then we find out the hotel does not have a pool, and so at first I was like,
we're devastated.
We're devastated. I'm like, I don't understand how
I'm annoyed at Megan because she said she booked this place with a pool,
and I'm just like, this must have been like I must have gotten confused with the other hotels I was looking at, and blah blah blah. Come to find out, it ended up being okay. We found they had like a little info sheet thing on there, and it said you get free access to a nearby wellness club in their pool, and you got access to everything there, actually, honestly. So if we wanted to go do a workout there, we could have, but we did not. We decided, like, we figured that out, so at least, like, it brought our spirits up a little bit, but we decided, like...
No, we didn't figure that out before we went to La Jolla. We figured it out afterwards, because we were talking about Resort Pass.
Oh, yeah. We were contemplating doing Resort Pass.
But basically, we were saying, okay, well, since there's no pool here, I was like, well, we have to do something, so we're going to La Jolla, because that's the only thing we can do right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to La Jolla, or as Megan initially said, La Jolla. And I was like, it's not pronounced like that.
I had heard of La Jolla before, but I didn't know it was, like, associated with San Diego. I just, like, I'd heard it before, and I didn't ever see, like, that saying with that spelling, so.
Yeah. So anyways, La Jolla, to the best of my knowledge, is just a nice suburb of San Diego with, like, cliffs and stuff, lots of shops and all that. Honestly, I thought it was a great option for us to go to on Sunday, because we, like, we packed swimsuits, being like, maybe we'll change into swimsuits if there's, like, a beach or anything. It wasn't warm enough.
Like, there was a cove. It was, like, one of the coolest beach things we saw when we were there, but, like, it was too cold. Like, it was not even that warm just standing there. It was pretty windy, and the water is also cold. Mm-hmm. But if you go to La Jolla Cove, it's, like, a really cool little beach, but, like, very blue water. There's a bunch of seals around there. Sea lions.
Technically, I think there's seals, too, but we saw mostly sea lions.
And you can go, like, a lot of people were snorkeling there, and it's kind of, like, do whatever you want. There is a lifeguard there, but, yeah.
Yeah, and so we got there, we went to CVS, got our own sunscreen first, and then there's a ton of shops and stuff. We went to a Warwick's bookstore, which was a cute little place. It's funny, when we were there, Megan has this thing where she goes to a bookstore and she's like, I must find Project Hail Mary.
I must.
And so she's looking for the sci-fi fantasy section. She finds it. There's only one there. She, like, pulls it out. And I wish that you would have kept it pulled out, because then, like, she pushes it back, and then, like, 2 seconds later.
Actually, 2 seconds later, we're still standing there in front of the shelf when the
bookstore worker comes by, and she's like, oh, here it is. And she pulls out Project Hail Mary and hands it to someone.
I so badly wanted to be like, you're going to love that book. But they were already gone.
They're gone. We didn't get anything there, because I didn't need to get anything. But I love a good bookstore. And I think it's cute now. Like, I want to, like, go to more independent bookstores in places that I travel to.
Mm-hmm. Just
for
like
the
a
vibes.
fun thing to do.
There's also Lululemon, which we were like, maybe we'll get some
I've been wanting a line shorts.
Biker shorts.
But, like, the inventory they had was
0.
very low. Nothing
like
our size.
3 or 4 biker shorts in black, which I would only get it in black. It's like 0 or larger. I don't remember. Not my size. So, left there. We went to Viore, which didn't have much. Nothing I was intrigued to get.
Yeah.
And then that's when we kind of, like, went further down. We're like, okay, let's go to the Cove kind of area. And so...
They also had, like, some live music going on, and, like, I don't remember the band that
they
was
were
playing.
rocking, though.
They were, and, like, had a good turnout. Lots of people brought chairs, and they had some good voices. They did some Bruno Mars. They did some other classic songs, and, like, you could hear them just, like, when you were walking around, like, kind of along the little sidewalk close to the coast. It was nice. Good little ambiance.
Mm-hmm. Loved looking at the sea lions. I think that May through October is their pupping season. I don't know what they called it. Mating season? Is that the same thing? But it was just, like, so cool. You could, like, walk along the entire, like, little coast area. And they're just all over. We saw some babies there. Mm-hmm. They're cute.
Then we went and we had dinner.
Lunch.
We got some pasta. It was a late lunch, like 3 or 4 o'clock.
Okay.
And then we went back to the live music area. We popped a squat.
I was like, I need to finish my book. I only have 30 pages left. So then I finished Red Queen.
And then we hung around there for a little bit, listened to the music. Then we went to Haagen-Dazs, and we got some chocolate milkshakes, because we love Haagen-Dazs. And I don't know why, but, like, if there's a Haagen-Dazs store where I travel to, like, I feel, like, the urge to...
It's like your heart
go to them. Yeah. And then...
That's kind of it over there.
That was kind of it. And then we went back to our hotel. And then we found the information about...
Well, because we had been looking into maybe doing a resort pass, and we're like, okay, well, we don't have a pool at our hotel, and maybe we do a resort pass for tomorrow, and, like, we can get
Which
access
is
to a
funny
pool.
because, like, the cheapest option initially we thought would be, we found the Manchester Grand Hyatt. Would be $20, it said, for a day pass. But then you click it, and the caveat was that it was a half-day pass, which at first I was like,
Oh,
okay,
perfect.
I don't need, like, I just need a half day. So, like, that works just fine. But then it specifies it has to be between 3 to 8 p.m. And I'm like, well, I will be at the airport, so that does not work. Otherwise, it was $45, and I did not really want to spend that much.
Anyway,
so,
but then we're in the midst of showering. I finished showering, and I was looking at our room info sheet. Megan was showering, and then I see that our hotel, like we mentioned earlier, has access to this wellness club where they have a rooftop pool, and we can access that rooftop pool for free as part of our
stay.
And so I tell Megan that we are delighted. At first I was unsure because, like, things are always, too good to be true. So I was like, well, technically it doesn't say, like, free. Like, maybe they just mean we get, like, a discounted service, which would be annoying. But then we ended up calling the next day, like, the front desk. Because at this point it was, like, 10 p.m. We also, like, got dinner from downstairs, brought it up to our room. $80 for 2 burgers, fries, and drinks.
$35
Ridiculous.
discount, though, they gave us a $35, like, food and bev credit. But,
to
like,
use daily.
my God, I didn't think dinner was going to be $80. So
that was annoying. And the burger wasn't even that good because it was one of those, like, fancy burgers where it's, like, a little sweet.
I didn't finish it.
Fries were okay, though. Megan and I have started doing this thing where we are ranking our Cokes.
Someone tagged us in a TikTok because it was, like, 2 girls they ranked their Diet Cokes that they drank. And so Ciera sent it to me. And then someone else tagged us in it, like, 2 seconds later. And so, intermittently, we've been doing it.
Read this one. That one's good. Good flavor. Hits the spot. It is in a bottle, which historically is not, like, the best Coke. But I'll give it an 8.
I'll give it a 7.
Classic.
My favorite
tried and
is
true.
from a can. And I feel like that's generally, like, last bottle, it kind of, like, depends. But I do feel like can consistently is, like, the best. Some
What about
people go
McDonald's?
crazy for, like, a fountain drink. But, like, it kind of depends on the place, you guys. Like, there's some
Like, what's the
bad
ratio,
McDonald's pops out there.
Anyway, we were watching nonstop because they added that to Netflix. Didn't finish it, though, because I fell asleep before that. And the next day, we got up, got Starbucks. We actually got up at 6:30 to try and counteract.
To correct our time change to go back
Worked.
to work.
I don't know.
Mine worked okay. I feel pretty good.
I feel fine now. I just went to bed still a little bit late. Granted, part of that's because we got home at 10 o'clock. And then I went to bed like 11:30. So, and then I was tired this morning. I was like, how am I supposed, I'm not ready for work. That's how I felt. Anyways, so we got up, got Starbucks, came back to our hotel, and then we changed into our swimsuits. Actually, no, first we walked to
We just kind
the
of wanted to,
wellness
like,
club.
scope out the area, and it was, like, still pretty early, so I was like, it's not super warm yet. So we walked a little bit further. We found the place, and they were like, okay, I guess we'll go back. We'll change, and we'll hope for the best.
Well, it was funny also because, so we leave our hotel, you can go right or left. We went right to get Starbucks because that was technically the closer one, but then going left is how you get to the wellness club, and on the way to the wellness club, there is another Starbucks. So we could have just gone that way and cut our time in half, but we didn't.
It really was a very smooth, simple process, though, for the wellness club. They were not surprised or shocked.
Well, sometimes you always worry. You're like, are you aware of this, like, niche little deal? Does this happen often?
Like, I'm staying at the hotel
Down the street?
Can I go up to the rooftop and use the pool? But the guy knew exactly what we were talking about. We just signed a little thing. He held onto our room key. We got a little thing to go up to the rooftop. And we were there for probably 2.5 hours. And it was a nice little rooftop.
Mm-hmm.
Water was kind of cold. We thought we were going to go in the hot tub. But, like, by the time I was like, should I go in the hot tub? I was honestly, like, sweating and pretty hot. So I was like, no.
Yeah.
But they also have, like, this is the thing is, like, in San Diego, they can just, like, have an outdoor gym on the rooftop.
I know there's, like,
And,
people
like,
working out outside.
They have, like, an outdoor treadmill, an outdoor, like, stair climber, and other things. Like, you could never dream of that in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
But they can there, and they do.
Anyway, then it was probably 10:30 or something. Our checkout was at noon, and so we're like, okay, we should head back. We can rinse off. Got to pack and stuff still. And amazingly. Everything fit. We packed one carry-on between the two of us, and then we each had our personal items as our backpacks, which was pretty impressive, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, this is what I hate about a trip, any trip, is that your clothes get dirty so fast.
You kind of like,
and so like when you're packing, you're like, oh, I can rewear this, and like that's fine. Like I can mix and match these. Like
but then
I'll be flexible.
practicality and like when you're actually living it, you're like, ugh.
You're like, ew, I just wore these shorts yesterday and I sweat all over them. You're putting them on, and you're like, ew. But you have no choice.
And you shake it off, and you're like, whatever.
Like it's covered in sand, or it's just, I hate it. Or you're like, where'd my other pair of socks go? You're on day 3 of these socks. You're like, what happened?
Yeah. On the last thing that I really have to say is when we were at the airport, there was another live musician, and he is going to make it big, you guys.
She does not know his name.
I don't know his name, but he, like, sounded just like The Weeknd / like Bruno Mars, and had an amazing voice. He was the only one that was, like, I think he was also doing, like, all the music and stuff, too, while singing. He was literally drawing, like, you know, crowds of people, like, stopping, which at the airport, it's hard to get people to stop and appreciate anything. But, like, he'd finish the song, and people would start clapping, and, like, consistently. And we picked, like, a restaurant because, again, we were there kind of early, so we got some food. But I was just, like, in shock with, like, how good this guy was. So I don't know his name, but if he makes it big and I recognize him,
she'll let you know.
I'll let you know.
Flight back was actually pretty smooth. We were both reading pretty much the entire time, which helped things fly by a little bit faster. I will say I was partly annoyed because at one point I was talking to Megan and I was like, I think we've got like, you know, X amount of time left. And then the flight attendant was like, we've got like about 40 minutes left of our flight, blah, blah, blah. 20 minutes go by. And the captain comes on. We've got about 35 minutes left. I was like, what do you mean? She said 40. 20 minutes pass. We should have 20 minutes left. You can't have 35 minutes left of the flight.
We did, though.
We did. Got in just a little bit late. We were technically delayed, though, right?
Yeah.
Then our
grandma
grandma
was so kind to pick us up again.
to round things out.
We are back where we started.
She picked us up. It's, 9:40 or whatever at that point. I just want to be home. But grandma just takes the back roads back to our house. And we're home safe and sound around 10 o'clock. 10:10, really.
So that was our trip. We hope you enjoyed the recap.
If you guys enjoy this episode, if you're watching on YouTube, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below of your thoughts, ideas,
Concerns.
If you enjoy this episode and want to rate it for us, you can go to Apple Podcasts and give us a review, hopefully a kind one.
Also, did you already mention our video version?
Yeah, YouTube.
Go subscribe.
We also have an Instagram @according to, spelled out, letters only.
We think it's kind of cute. We try to take good care of it. So
We try our best. Canva is, our helper.
it does a good job.
But yeah, that's how you can stay up to date with our episodes.
Or if you want to get involved, if we ever ask you guys for things or to send some things in, it's all on there.
So, with that being said, we will talk to you guys next Thursday.
Bye.